A pleasant good evening to all my education colleagues and guests. It is my esteemed pleasure to welcome you to the 8th edition of the second season of the Caribbean Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, CAPS Thoughtful Thursday. This event is being hosted in partnership with Mr. Raj Ramdas and his talented tech team from the NGO Restore a Sense of I Can, RSC. Tonight's focus is on the role of non-cognitive factors on students' academic achievement and success. As a preview to the many philosophical thoughts that will be shared in tonight's presentations, I ask that you engage in purposeful viewing of a short video clip taken from Plato's Allegory of the Cave. Do enjoy.
What is reality? Knowledge? The meaning of life? Big topics you might tackle figuratively, explaining existence as a journey down a road or across an ocean, a climb, a war, a book, a thread, a game, a window of opportunity, or an all too short-lived flicker of flame. 2,400 years ago, one of history's most famous thinkers said life is like being chained up in a cave, forced to watch shadows flitting across a stone wall. Pretty cheery, right? That's actually what Plato suggested in his Allegory of the Cave, found in Book 7 of the Republic, in which the Greek philosopher envisioned the ideal society by examining concepts like justice, truth, and beauty. In the allegory, a group of prisoners have been confined in a cavern since birth with no knowledge of the outside world. They are chained facing a wall, unable to turn their heads, while a fire behind them gives off a faint light. Occasionally, people pass by the fire carrying figures of animals and other objects that cast shadows on the wall. The prisoners name and classify these illusions, believing they're perceiving actual entities. Suddenly, one prisoner is freed and brought outside for the first time. The sunlight hurts his eyes, and he finds the new environment disorienting. When told that the things around him are real, while the shadows were mere reflections, he cannot believe it. The shadows appeared much clearer to him, but gradually his eyes adjust until he can look at reflections in the water, at objects directly, and finally at the sun, whose light is the ultimate source of everything he has seen. The prisoner returns to the cave to share his discovery, but he is no longer used to the darkness and has a hard time seeing the shadows on the wall. The other prisoners think the journey has made him stupid and blind and violently resist any attempts to free them. Plato introduces this passage as an analogy of what it's like to be a philosopher trying to educate the public. Most people are not just...
Colleagues, due to time constraints, we cannot play the entire video for you, but I'm sure you can research on your own time and view it in its entirety. I am Omar Langsworth, principal of Independence High School located in southern Belize, and currently serving as the vice chair of the Belize Association of Principals of Secondary Schools. Tonight, it is my pleasure to once again co-host this evening's program with my friend and colleague, the amazing and energetic Ms. Vanessa Neal, I now turn over to her for her introduction and remarks. Ms. Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Omar. Good evening, colleagues, guests, and attendees in education from across the Caribbean. I, Vanessa Neal, principal of St. Ignatius High School, located in a twin town in Western Belize, will be your co-host for this evening. Presently, I serve as the secretary of the Belize Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, BAPS. I have been given the privilege to serve on the BAPS executive for 5 years. It is a pleasure to co-host this evening's session with Mr. Omar Langsworth, my dear friend and mentor from Southern Belize. And now, the topic for today's breakout room is, what do you think are the major factors that contribute to student achievement, and what related support services have you implemented? So at this time, we'll be placed in breakout rooms. Thank you. Welcome back, folks. The discussions took me down memory lane to my high school days when students needed to have a voice in the discussions related to student achievement so that schools can implement support services to close the gap between the slow learners and the high achievers. Thanks to all for sharing specific support services that you may have implemented at your school. The gist of the discussion was centered on ways that practitioners can increase student success. And it was good to note that students' voice was also taken into consideration to support students' success. Basically, students are more likely to succeed when certain conditions are in place, which identifies that students need to be directed, focused, nurtured, engaged, connected, and valued. Let me now pass on the mic to Mr. Omar.
Thank you, Vanessa. And the discussions in my breakout room, and I'm sure the breakout rooms from the other colleagues that were in charge of those rooms, similar remarks in terms of the support services that are given to students, schools, and school systems trying to provide access to internet, trying to provide packaging of materials to students for them to be able to carry on with meaningful education. What I find to be particularly impressive is the extent to which we strive to infuse support systems that are complementary to students' academic achievement and success. It is obvious from the discussions that our formal assessment instruments and ranking of students are still strongly rooted in our education system. But I think gradually it is good to note that we are utilizing research findings that definitely inform concrete changes to the approaches that we're using to ensure students' learning and students' achievement. And so beautifully done. And I want to thank all the colleagues from across the region. My room, we had, I think, 4 Belizeans, so that was not so good. I wanted to get from, more of our colleagues from other regions, but it happened that way. But some very good, such meaningful thoughts presented by my colleagues from Belize. I want to thank everybody for your participation and for engaging in all the discussions. I now want to turn over to my colleague for the introduction of tonight's presidential thought. Ms. Vanessa.
Now it is with excitement that I introduce the presidential thought. I am pleased to welcome Mrs. Shara Carrington James making this evening's presentation. Mrs. Carrington James is from Tobago. She attended the prestigious Bishop's Anstey High School in Port of Spain and the University of the West Indies St. Augustine campus, where she earned her bachelor's degree in chemistry, with analytical chemistry and biochemistry. In Tobago, she has spent over 30 years functioning across institutions at various levels of the education system, gaining extensive knowledge and experience over the years. She has led multidisciplinary teams in the application of strategies in educational pedagogy for improved student outcomes and has served as assistant examiner for CSEC and also CAPE. Mrs. Carrington James has employed several avenues for professional development, including courses in leadership with emotional intelligence, leadership training, leadership conferences, and is a member of the International Society of Female Professionals, advancing the interests of professional women across more than 75 countries. Mrs. Carrington James has been in administration since 2009 and is the principal of the Goodwood Secondary School since 2015. She has also been involved in CAPS, attending conferences since 2009 up to 2019. She has recently been elected as the president of the Association of Principals of Public Secondary Schools, Trinidad and Tobago, and by virtue of that is also the president of CAPS, as Trinidad and Tobago will host our virtual conference this year, 2021. Mrs. Shera Carrington James is married for the last 25 years to businessman Trevor W. James. They have 2 daughters and a son. Mrs. Carrington James believes that one should never settle for silver if gold is inside of you. I am most grateful to be a part of an organization that has a leader of such qualities. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mrs. Carrington James.
Good evening, colleagues. Waves of the One Caribbean Blue Ocean wafts the shores of all our territories, and ultimately the ocean provides scenic views for several of our coastal schools. This evening, I contextualize the strategy of blue oceans that we must aim to dive into. In 2012, Discovery Channel identified the Great Blue Marine Hole off the coast of Belize as number 1 on its list of the 10 most amazing places on Earth. Blue oceans literally and figuratively surround us. Most pragmatists that espouse the value of innovative mindset encourage us to ideally strive to employ blue ocean strategy. It is defined in marketing theory as a focus on untapped market space, demand creation, and the opportunity for highly profitable growth. It focuses on developing new innovative solutions in a structured way. Management guru Professor Chan Kim of INSET Business School, France, noted that technology innovations is of itself not synonymous with growth, as rather growth relies on its use for value innovations. The researched argument for the establishment of value-added indices for our schools therefore becomes more critical. It will pivot us away from the singular measure of certification and number of CXC passes. It is in the strength of the value added to the lives of stakeholders or students that the prospect of examination success increases. To traverse the ocean and engage in blue ocean innovations in our schools, we must first acknowledge the existence of the dichotomy of dispositions of growth and fixed mindsets and embrace that of a growth mindset if we can. A fixed mindset proposed by Stanford Professor Carol Dweck in her book Mindset describes people who see character, intelligence, and creative ability as static qualities with success as the validation. Failure is avoided at all costs, whereas the Dweck posits that the diabolically opposite growth mindset people feel, that their skills and intelligence can be improved with effort and persistence. They embrace and thrive on challenges, persist through obstacles, learn from criticism, and seek out inspiration in others' successes. A hunger for learning is generated, and it sees a failure not as evidence of unintelligence, but as an opportunity for growth and for stretching our existing abilities. We must rewire our cognitive habits and break the binary cycle of success and failure and adopt the much more rewarding growth mindset. When the fixed mindset voice comes nagging at us, colleagues, please talk back to it, question it, throw doubt on its conclusions, and counter it as often as you can. According to Chan Kim's philosophy, there is no such thing as a bad school. He believes that even if the outlook looks bleak, opportunities exist. They just need to be unearthed. To do so, we must create, not compete. Kim explained that we must move our minds out of the crowded world of sameness, of strategies, and seek new ideas in the blue ocean to support our school context, culture, and students. This evening, I highlight a few of our colleagues who have begun the process. In Belize, the principal of Independence High School, Omar Longsworth, is further along the continuum than most. Mr. Longsworth and his staff recognized the gap in the operationalization of the tourism offering and filled it with an interjection of realism, relevance, and responsibility. In the several offerings, the standard is evident in the uniformity of dress of the hospitality and food and beverage students, and the creativity in the fruit and soap carvings. The immaculate hotel rooms and extensive tour guiding is evident, so that at the end of it all, the students can be self-sufficient. Chan Kim said, do not compete, create. The Toko Folk Museum Trinidad demonstrated the vision of young people and the facilitation of the principal and staff and the community support in the preservation and display of several heritage artifacts. It provides access to the history of the community and the country. This is not seen at any other school. Chan Kim's words, do not compete, create. The Pan Manufacturing Enterprise at the San Fernando East Secondary School, Trinidad, has created an entrepreneurial opportunity as it has added value to the curriculum offering that is CVQ Music. Pan Manufacturing, again, create, not compete. The showcasing of the mill brewing at my own school, the Goodwood Secondary School, Tobago, that allows for cross-curriculum integration of theater arts, visual arts, and clothing and textile, and a reenactment of the day at the sugarcane plantation is priceless. Whereas the Slave Hospital at the Grantley Adams High School, Barbados, has a potential for differently engaging in entrepreneurial creation at the school. Colleagues, after we ourselves model the mindset shift and embrace blue ocean strategies of innovative practice, we must then create the enabling and facilitating environment for our students to similarly do. Keep in mind that there is no one route to innovation. Some espouse a prescriptive, others an emergent approach. Blend students of different levels and maturity. Create a safe space where trust can develop. Challenge them maybe to solve existing school problems. Take excursions to broaden their thinking. Include lots of visual stimulation in the spaces that they occupy. And always reinforce and celebrate the effort genuinely and immediately. When you do put together a work team, colleagues, create an environment that fosters creativity and innovation, and find the right leader to make it all work, then just leave them. Leave them alone so that they can eventually, like all of us, surf the blue ocean of innovative thought, just as you have. Yes, we can do this. We've got this. Let's go create something. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carrington James, for highlighting the innovativeness of our Caribbean children and institutions. Your presentation demonstrated that our students' success in the work environment and society in general must factor a perfect blending of academia and skill-based education and training. It is particularly meaningful to note you chose to highlight clippings from institutions across the region, which speaks to our similarities and direction for student achievement and student success. Your presidential thoughts were truly presidential. I thank you for such a wonderful presentation. I now ask Ms. Vanessa to introduce the Moment of Movement activity. Ms. Vanessa.
Thank you. Our Moment of Movement has become an essential feature of our Thoughtful Thursday sessions. Miss Michelle Shanti Williams is a conscious community leader, philanthropist, self-transformation coach, and a sought-after international public speaker who has written articles on wellness for various Belizean and international publications. Ms. Williams is a master yoga and meditation teacher trained in the Himalayas, India. She is the founder of Om Shanti Belize, a 5-star rated retreat center, and a Yoga Alliance registered school for yoga and wellness in Belize. Founder of Rhythm of Change Belize, ROC, a nonprofit organization, and Belize International Yoga Festival, BIF, a conscious, family-friendly gathering featuring local and international presenters, many styles of yoga, healing services, and healthy vegan and vegetarian food. Ms. Williams encourages and shares an integrated practice of yoga involving breath, movement, meditation, wisdom, healthy eating, prayer, gratitude, and selfless service. Please follow along and do your best. If not, sit back and enjoy this movement segment, a powerful breathwork exercise called Breath of Life. Enjoy.
Namaste. My name is Michelle Shanti Williams, coming to you from Om Shanti Belize in Belize City. Today I'd like to share with you a very powerful breath meditation by the name of Breath of Light. Its benefits include, it really helps to stabilize the nervous system, reduce stress, anger, and frustration, bringing in a sense of calm and positivity into the mindset. It also helps to strengthen the lungs and expand the lung capacity, which is very useful in these times. So to practice, come seated in a cross-legged position, or you may sit on a chair. Relax your shoulders away from your ears and close your eyes. You're going to begin by sipping in 7 sips of air, breathing from the nostrils. On the 7th sip, you're going to hold the breath for as long as you comfortably can. And then when you're ready, you'll exhale with 1 complete exhale, again from the nostrils. It is recommended that at the start, you bring your awareness to the base of your spine, sip in the 7 sips, hold the breath, and then exhale, bringing your awareness back to the base of the spine. Okay, you can also visualize light rising up as you inhale, and then as you hold the breath and then exhale, visualize yourself being showered with this beautiful golden light. So let's begin. Hands on the knees, close the eyes. Hold the breath. And then exhale, 1 complete exhale. I'll do it one more time with you. Inhale. Hold breath. And then exhale. Do 1 time on your own. and then exhale. You may remain here. After practicing for about 5 minutes, you can remain with your awareness at the entrance of the nostril, just observing the breath, as well as observing the sensations throughout the body. And then when you feel charmed, you can take a nice deep breath in, and then on the exhale, open up your eyes and come back into the space. Thank you so much for joining me. Try to practice at least 5 minutes every morning before you start your day, and practice in a space where you won't be disturbed. It can really help, and it can be life-changing. So enjoy. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and have a wonderful day.
I told you at the last segment not to think of yoga as only the physical practice, poses, and turning yourself into a pretzel. It is a connection to the mind and soul. Thanks, Ms. Williams, for creating a space of movement where we felt safe to connect, to trust, to reach out, to express, and to be. I am grateful for the power of what this connection can bring to our lives. Wisdom, healing, prayer, gratitude, just to name a few. And now, to introduce our feature presentation, take it away, Mr. Omar.
Thank you so much, Ms. Vanessa. Dr. Matthias Virus Jr. is a career educator and researcher who over the last 25 years has served as a teacher, vice principal, principal, university instructor, and researcher in Belize and the USA. His academic preparation includes a Master of Arts degree in Educational Administration, a Master of Education degree in Curriculum and Instruction, and 2 graduate certificates, one in Applied Statistics and one in Education and Social Sciences Advanced Research Methods. Matthias completed a Doctor of Philosophy degree in Educational Leadership from Prairie View A&M University in Prairie View, Texas. Also, he's a doctoral candidate for a PhD in Educational Psychology with specialization in research, measurement, and statistics. His research interests include hierarchical linear modeling, linear growth modeling, psychometrics, measurement invariance, educational disparities, non-cognitive factors and achievement, and cultural competency and diversity. Over the last 4 years, Matthias has co-authored 7 peer-reviewed research articles and has presented research findings at over 15 international research conferences. Also, Matthias was instrumental in obtaining program evaluation and grant funding of a combined total of $950,000 US. Currently, Matthias serves as an assistant professor at the University of Belize, where he facilitates courses in instructional technology, educational psychology, adolescent psychology, research methods, assessment, measurement, and evaluation, and statistics. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our feature presenter, Dr. Matthias Virus.
Thank you very much, Brother Lansworth, for such a nice introduction. My pleasure to be here, fellow educators from around the Caribbean and my fellow Belizeans. It's a pleasure and honor to be talking and sharing some ideas with you tonight. So thank you for this opportunity. I'm going to start sharing my screen now. So today I will be talking about a topic that is dear to me, rethinking secondary school education, enhance student achievement via non-cognitive factors. This is a short outline of what I intend to address tonight. So the purpose, the social-cultural context, what are non-cognitive factors, why are they important, which ones are associated with academic performance, how educators can foster non-cognitive factors, innovation in education, and then fostering non-cognitive factors via educational innovation. So my purpose today is twofold. First, I hope to inspire a mental revolution, which would require some sort of change in mindset. And so that's my primary goal. Second is to empower for positive action that leads to social transformation and redemption, and eventually liberation. And as I proceed, you will see why I highlight the terms of transformation, redemption, leading to liberation. So let's talk a little bit about the social-cultural context. Basically, it's the immediate physical and social setting in which we live or in which something happens or develops. And so if we think about our high school students and their sociocultural context, so that's the environment that they're coming from, that they live in, but also the school environment in which we design for them to learn in. Our sociocultural context is influenced by many agents. Some of the major agents of influence includes the home, church, school, peers, media, and our government. Particularly, I want to draw your attention to peers and media. But first, let me just comment a little bit here that, maybe 50 years ago, or maybe not so long, the home and the church and even the school were the #1 agents of influence in society. However, today, the #1 agents tend to be the media or peers, and I'm talking more so for high school students, so adolescents. And so if we think that the media is a main agent of influence, or peers influencing peers, it's kind of like, to some extent, the blind leading the blind, right? But if we think about the media and ask ourselves, what does the media promote? And how does the media influence the mindset of our students, right? And even more importantly today, with the dominance of social media, right? And so we're starting to get an idea of how important this social cultural context is, from where our students are coming from, where they live in, and the context that we develop for them at school. My argument is that we have made many progress in society over the years, especially in technology, but we have not made progress in some major factors in society. Instead, we have regressed in some of them. For example, probably maybe values, morals, poverty, crime, and achievement gaps. And so when we think about these situations, these factors make up the social cultural context that our students live in and come to us from the schools. Some of these social cultural factors can operate in two ways. One, they can serve as a mechanism to propel students to want to achieve more so as to get out of that situation. On the other hand, some of these factors can serve as agents that debilitate or captivate or imprison, and to some extent puts students into a form of mental slavery and suppresses them and keeps them down from truly realizing their full potential and excelling in school. And so these are important for us to be aware of and to see how it affects different students differently. There are students who come from impoverished situation or crime-infested environments or drugs environment, and they do well, but others, it has a negative effect on them. So for us as educators, it is important that we understand that the social cultural context plays an important role in determining what students value and what they want to accomplish, the types of challenges they face, and the resources to which they have access to accomplish these goals. And I think in the breakout sessions, many of you recognize the current social cultural context, how it has been affected by the pandemic, and how schools are adjusting in terms of the services and the support that you all are providing to your students to ensure that learning continues and they can still be on their path towards success. Students' perseverance is directly influenced by cultural contextual factors in their learning environment, and therefore it requires nurturing of important psychological resources. And this is the main essence of my presentation today. These psychological resources that we call non-cognitive factors in order for students to succeed in school and eventually in life. And so these non-cognitive factors, what the research is arguing is that they're even more important than the cognitive factors because of the long-lasting effect it could have in achievement in school, but more importantly, in life after these students leave school. So non-cognitive factors are a set of behaviors, skills, attitudes, strategies that are crucial to students' academic performance and persistence in education and life. Behaviors, attitudes, beliefs, social emotional skills that set students up for success. And so when we think about these, behaviors, skills, attitudes, strategies, beliefs, social emotional skills, these are important, and more because of the social cultural context that our students live in today, it's more important that these factors are intentionally developed. Non-cognitive skills are critically important to student achievement, both in and beyond the classroom. Research findings on the critical importance of GPA for students' future outcomes suggest that we need to better understand why they are so predictive of later success. And so what we're finding out here, or what the research is establishing or has established, is that grades must capture some other important attributes of the students, which is over and above the content of the tests that the test score measures. And so what really are GPA or grades capturing other than the academic content that you intentionally measure with your tests? And so here is a model which comes out of the University of Chicago research group. And so the argument is that test scores measure knowledge of content and academic skills, but the students' overall grades that they receive, their overall GPA or the overall average that they take home at the end of the semester term, measures a group of important factors referred to as non-cognitive factors. So grades reflect both the knowledge of content, their academic skills, but also equally importantly, the non-cognitive factors. And hence why, as educators, we have to put a intentional focus on developing these non-cognitive factors if we want our students, and if we want more students to be successful in school, and more importantly, in life. The more our students are successful in school, the higher their probability that they will be successful in life. The more students we get to be successful in life, the better our society becomes, hence the social transformation and redemption leading to liberation. So grades also reflect the degree to which students have demonstrated a range of academic behaviors, attitudes, and strategies that are critical for success in school and later on in life. And some of these, involve students' attitudes about their own learning, their beliefs about their own intelligence, their self-control, their persistence, the quality of their relationship with peers and also with adults, their level of motivation, their time management, their self-regulation are also critical for later life outcome, including success in the labor market. And so many of these non-cognitive attributes are shown to have a direct positive relationship to why students' current school performance, as well as with academic outcomes and life. And I can tell you right now that one of the major challenge many students are having as a result of moving to remote learning or distance learning or online learning is the whole time management and self-regulation. And so those students who are able to manage their time well, self-discipline, self-regulate, you will find they're going to do much better than those who are not able to do it, especially under the current circumstance that we're in, or the current shift in our social cultural context. Here is a model that puts it, all these major factors together. So up on the big framework is the social cultural context, and you notice that covers all the other factors. And along with the social cultural context, we have students' background and their characteristics. The social cultural context, also affects the school and classroom context, which affects the learning strategies, the social skills that students develop, and also students' mindset. So the whole school atmosphere, which as the leader, you are responsible to nurture and develop and promote, has an effect on the overall mindset within your school. And then the mindset, of course, has an impact on academic perseverance, whether they're able to stick to things and to persevere, to be gritty. And then that in turn affects students' academic behaviors, which in turn affects their performance. And so it's not just about the level of intellectual ability that the students bring, but it's all these other factors in the end. When they receive their final grade or the GPA, all these other factors contribute to that final achievement. The research out of the University of Chicago have identified 5 major categories of non-cognitive factors that are associated with academic performance. First is academic behaviors. And these are pretty straightforward, such as going to class, doing homework, or being organized, participating, and what we would refer to as being a good student, which we all love, right? As educators, we all love good students. Well, non-cognitive factors give us an avenue of how to make more students good students. The second one is perseverance, grit, tenacity, delay gratification, self-discipline, self-control. So students, it's about students' tendency to complete assignments in a timely and thorough manner to the best of their ability, despite, this is the key, despite distraction, despite obstacles or level of challenge. I see with my own university students, they go through many challenges. This starting last year with the pandemic, many of my students lost family members to the virus, and some of them were taking 5 courses, 6 courses and have other responsibility, as some of them are full-time teachers, have their own family, but yet they did not give up. They persevered, they persisted, and they did well. Whereas I saw students who are at home, don't have any major responsibility, taking 4 courses and not doing as well in comparison to those other students. Mindset, very, very important, and I believe the presidential speaker talked about this, which is very important, right? Or your whole mindset, your belief. Learning strategy, a key one. So sometimes it's not that students don't have the cognitive ability, but it's more so they need the strategies and skills so that then they can develop those ability or apply those ability well. Metacognitive skills, self-regulated learning, goal setting, those kinds of things to help them learn better. Then of course we have the social skills, such as interpersonal skills, empathy, cooperation, and so forth. So this will help them to better work with their peers and relationship with also their teachers. And so the more you have positive relationship between peers and with your teachers, there's a higher probability that you will do well in school. This is a hypothesized model of how a teacher mindset affects student achievement. And so you have the school and peer context of the teacher, right? And then that has an influence on the teacher mindset. So if you have teachers who are always complaining about students, then that tells you something about the mindset of that teacher. Whereas if you have teachers who are always excited and happy and ready to be in the class with their students and ready to celebrate and always saying something positive about how their students are achieving or the successes that they're making. So your teacher's mindset is very important. And then the teaching strategies that they use to teach has an effect. It's here. Their perseverance to persist with the challenges that they face as a teachers in the classroom, their own behaviors that they portray and manifest, all of those factors have an impact on student achievement and eventually on students' long-term flourishing in life. Here is another model. This one is put forth by the U.S. Educational Department for Technology, I believe. Again, they recognize the importance of the sociocultural context, the contextual factors of the school environment in promoting stuff such as perseverance or positive mindset. And so based on the curriculum, the climate, and the values that your school promotes, it can help to develop the psychological resource that students need in order to be successful, such as a positive academic mindset, such as effortful control, and the different strategies and tactics that they need to be successful in learning and navigating the system. Here is a model that I worked on in a research project myself and a colleague of mine, Dr. Moore, in what triggers grit. And grit basically is, perseverance for a long-term goal. And it talks about, the different support systems, spirituality, family, different circumstances that the students might come from, the teachers, the role models, peers, and the school community. So all those factors in the red help the students to develop a set of a mindset, strategies, and also effort. And those 3 psychological factors help them to develop grit. And so how can we as educators foster non-cognitive factors? Very importantly, we need to collect our own data. So most of the research that's out there is based on US research. And so we need to do our own research in the Caribbean. So we need to collect our own data on these non-cognitive factors. And then we need to focus on multiple factors, both the academic and non-academic, to address student success inside, but also outside the classroom. We need to cultivate behaviors, attitudes, belief, and the social emotional skills that will set up students for success in life. When we think about innovation, and my source here is UNICEF, the argument is that it's more than technology, and it's more about solving a real problem in a fresh and simple way to promote equity and improving learning, so educational innovation. And this could come through many forms, via programs, services, processes, products, and partnerships, and can all enhance educational outcomes in innovative ways. We need to be mindful of the scale of the solution to the scale of the challenge, right? We have to match those two components. And it draws on the creativity and experiences within the communities that are trying to implement these different programs. And a good example is an example in Ghana, whereby they empower the local mothers and grandmothers to facilitate early childhood education. And it ensures that decisions are made by those most affected by the outcomes. And so when we think about it, and from a lot of the sharing from the Breakout group, there are many innovators already at work in the classrooms and the communities. And so how can we harness those innovations and upscale them or scale them up so we can serve a bigger population and achieve equity in education? So here is a recommendation or an idea that I have in how we can use innovation, educational innovation, to foster non-cognitive factors. First, collecting the data. And there are several of these instruments or skills that are readily available online, and it can be done online, or you could download it and do paper-based, or you could download it and put it in your own tool, survey tool or instrument tool to collect your data. There's a growth mindset scale, fixed versus growth mindset. There is the grit scale by Angela Duckworth, who's the famous educational psychologist for this construct. There is the social emotional learning report card, and there's the self-efficacy scale, and there are other scales. And so I have these here. I've provided a list with the links for you all. Mr. Langsworth will be sharing that with the participants. And based on the results that we get from these skills, then we could develop a program or a product in partnership, right? There's no need for us to be working as an island, in partnership to help foster non-cognitive factor. And here is an example that I have. Let's see if I could. It's not linking me.
Dr. Virus, if we
Yes.
have like a minute or so to wrap up.
Yes, that's exactly where I'm getting at. Thank you. So one example that I wanted to share is from this website, right? And here's an example of how we could be innovative in pulling the resources together in partnership with different schools across the different countries. So we collect the data and we use the data to develop a platform that can be accessed by teachers, even parents across the Caribbean. But of course, it would have to be something that's based on data collected, within our Caribbean countries and schools. So here's an example of a website, and this one is based on character education and social emotional learning. And what they have it for different levels. So focused on high school, they have the different topics. And so if I click on, for example, self-esteem, and it gives you, a breakdown of what it is, the objectives. There's videos, guiding discussion questions for the teacher to use in the classroom. And so basically, writing assignments they can use, and to help the teachers, help the students to develop self-esteem. And so this is an idea of how we could start probably with one of the non-cognitive factor, whichever is identified based on the data that is most needed, right? And so let me just, in closing here, my final slide. I just want to, share three quotations that, one from Dr. King. We must remember that intelligence is not enough. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. And so we cannot only focus on the cognitive factors, we have to also focus on the non-cognitive factors. Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, but working together is success. And so if we can work together across the Caribbean in developing a plan for fostering non-cognitive factors, I think we can truly achieve success across the region. Thank you all for the opportunity. My pleasure to be of service.
Thank you, Dr. Virus, for a mind-boggling and thought-provoking presentation. You have surely placed us in a mode of rethinking with serious consideration to the remodeling of our strategies with which we approach the delivery of educational services to our most important clients, our students. I am sure this was just a synopsis of the topic. We could spend a whole day, I think, discussing this topic. And so what we were doing, colleagues, we were providing you Dr. Virus's contact information, and the links to his resources will be provided that you can view on your own time. But Dr. Virus, we want to thank you so much. So inspiring, mind-boggling, and I'm sure we have food for thought as we go to our respective homes this evening. Thank you once again for your presentation.
My pleasure, Mr. Langsworth, and thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Colleagues,
Thank you,
I will now pass on to Ms. Vanessa for her concluding remarks.
Thank you so much, co-host Mr. Omar. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly ensure again that you fill out the short evaluation form. It takes you like 10 seconds to do so. Again, your feedback is very helpful for us to improve our sessions with you. This session was indeed lovely, and it was an honor sharing this hour with you and our colleagues in education. Special thanks to our invited guests. I took note of primary school principals and vice principals from Belize and across the region. Thank you for joining us. And for those first-timers, thank you once again. Folks, you know that all good things come to an end. Thank you, muchas gracias, and Sereme for joining us this evening. I now hand over the mic to Mr. Omar to close tonight's session.
Thank you, Ms. Vanessa. Once again, it was a pleasure moderating with you. As we speak, our education system tends to subscribe to high school grades, class rank, and standardized test scores as predictors of students' academic success. If we engage in deep reflection of practice, we may recognize that in many cases, it is not the students who are deficient, but the traditional context of schooling. Therefore, the essential question for developing students as learners is not how to change students to improve their behavior, but rather how to create contexts that better support students in developing critical attitudes and learning strategies necessary for their academic success. As leaders, are we going to remain confident in what we think we know? Or are we going to embrace the many wonderful ideas and groundbreaking strategies that were shared with us in tonight's presentation? Next week, our colleagues from St. Lucia will continue with presentations that will seek to challenge conventional wisdom and schools of thought. We look forward to your continued participation, and we ask that you continue to encourage your friends and colleagues from across your territories to join us in these presentations. On behalf of the CAPS Belize Organizing Committee, it was our pleasure hosting the last 4 thoughtful Thursdays. Do have a wonderful evening, and we pray for God's continued blessings on you and your family, your faculty and staff, and all our students across the region. Once again, thank you and God bless.